What's going on, everyone? In today's episode, Zach and I discuss a video by Seth Capehart called The Fastest Way to 10% Body Fat for Guys Over 30. The video distinguishes the differences between crash dieting to lose fat as fast as possible versus taking a slower, more gradual yet sustainable approach. In the episode, Zach and I share our own thoughts and experiences on the content of the video, and we know you're going to love it. Before we dive in, if you find yourself enjoying the episode, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out. Okay, let's get into it. Yeah, honestly, I think that for anyone that wants to lose body fat and then maybe they're inexperienced in dieting or exercise or just in successfully accomplishing fat loss, I think like everyone should watch the video because it's just, as you noted, straight to the point, really upfront about what you can expect in these different contexts. So, like, as you noted, there's kind of two different ways of doing it, which is the first way of basically losing as fast as you can possibly get away with, which he explains is probably not a good idea. Maybe we can talk about why that
Mhm.
is. And the other way being losing at a rate that comes across as being slower, but well, it is slower, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's sustainable. There's not a big chance of rebounding, and you get to hold on to all this muscle along the way. So by the time you finish the diet or finish the
Mhm.
fat loss, you actually look significantly better. But
Yeah.
I think that everyone who is inexperienced with fat loss, I think it's worth watching. It's just,
Oh,
take
100%,
10
100%.
minutes out of take 10 minutes out of your life and you'll learn a whole heck of a lot of truth, and at least
Yeah,
from my experience.
yeah. No, I love it, like, and we were talking about the first way, so we can kinda deep dive into the quick approach, I guess. So what I got from it was he basically talks about drop your calories as low as you can get them to and burn more and burn those calories by doing more and more cardio. And, it was interesting because I was thinking back, it when I lost a lot of weight, I kinda did that. I mean, I was still lifting, and I was still training hard, but I ate a lot less calories than whatever I was eating before. Wasn't tracking, but I remember I was doing, like, an hour on the treadmill every day. Um, and I remember, like, I lost all that weight, but when I look at those pictures when I weighed 160 pounds then, it's not how I look now. It's a completely different, um and I enjoy the strength that I have now. I don't think I had a problem with how I looked and all the cardio I was doing. I was okay with it. Like, but definitely enjoy the way I look, how I feel, how much stronger I am now and kind of doing it a different way. So, yeah, so he talked about like just dropping calories, burning more, but he said there's some negative side effects of that. The first one I talked about, he says torches your muscles. I like the word he used, torch.
Torch is good.
Yeah,
It's a good visual.
yes, yes. Which it's kind of funny because I've experienced that with I mean, we talked about this with all the cardio I do, with all the running specifically, how it's very taxing on the body. And your body it needs fuel somewhere. And so if you're already depleting, it's gonna use something, and it'll use your muscles to fuel. So and I think he talked about that. So even if you're getting leaner, you're gonna look smaller.
Yeah. You know
Um,
what's interesting about that is a little bit of a controversial topic, but I think a lot of people unknowingly do that when they take things like Ozempic, those kind of
mm,
extreme appetite suppressants. So all of a sudden you go from eating, oftentimes people start using something like that because they're struggling with overeating. So they're going from eating at a surplus to all of a sudden they have no appetite and then they're in this extreme deficit. So their
yeah.
calories are just slash and they don't it's not terribly difficult to get to that point. If you're not hungry, then why would you
Mhm.
want to add all these calories? So by default they eat significantly less calories, and one of the results of that is oftentimes people that are taking the Ozempic will lose a ton of muscle along with their body fat. So I think that
Yeah.
speaks as evidence to the truth of the point that Seth Capehart brings to rapid fat loss.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, and I think what was the second point you talked about with how bad it is? You
He
said
said
basically
that he said that it leaves you with lower testosterone, which I thought was
yep,
interesting.
lower
I think
testosterone, hormones take a hit.
that's yeah,
Yep.
I think that's definitely true. I think it takes a lot to get to that point, like, you gotta really be crash dieting for it to significantly mess up your hormones and do it for a while. I think he might have sensationalized that a little bit. Most people
Mhm.
can't crash diet hard enough to get to the
Well,
point where it really
he
messes up.
used 1,200 calories, like, I think in
That's
an
pretty nasty.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, I don't think most people that maybe, right? But if they're not tracking, if they're doing it this way, I have a hard feeling uh, thinking they're actually at 1,200 calories, but maybe, you know?
To your point, I think what's most likely is someone might try to do 1,200 calories a day, and maybe they do like, Monday to Friday, they do it, and then it's probably there's inconsistency there. They probably
Mhm.
cheat on the weekend, or there's a higher probability they'd eat extra calories on the weekend. So it wouldn't be a consistent 1,200
Yeah,
calories. I think that would be a more common situation. But if you did take an anomaly of a person that did set themselves concretely in 1,200 calories a day and they stuck with it for 3 months, then sure,
yeah.
then lower
It
testosterone be pretty inevitable.
it kinda makes me think, when I first lost a lot of weight, I didn't know I wasn't tracking calories, but I was kinda, like, eyeballing stuff, and I thought I was around that, like, 1,200 to 1,500 calories. But now, knowing what I know, I was probably eating minimum 1,800 to 2,200 probably. And what's interesting to me is someone that, if you're tracking to a T, 1,200 calories, how are you then not going to slowly transition to doing it the right way, eating more efficiently? You know what I'm saying? Like, and more whole. Like, we'll probably get into the good ways, but I feel like if you're detailed enough to track to get 1,200, you're gonna through necessity, you'll that 1,200 will have to be the most bang for your buck because it's so low. I can't imagine like eating 1,200 on like protein bars. Like, you know what I mean? Like 3 protein bars and you're done. Like or whatever, you know? Um, so
Yeah. For
yeah.
1,200 to be sustainable, you'd have to eat, like, tons for most people anyways, like, it depends on how big the person is. Like, there's a lot of ladies that probably would need to eat around 1,200 calories to confidently lose body fat,
Mhm.
but for for it to be something that's sustainable, most people would probably need to eat like tons of veg, lots of lean
Mhm.
protein. And he actually, those were some of the points that he mentioned later on. We can talk about that, but like
Yep.
including lots of low calorie, dense, high volume foods to make it work, and not just have like 3 or 4 protein bars where it's like, oh man, I'm so hungry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But, he talks about that too, like the white knuckling it, not sustainable. Because I think anyone can white knuckle something first, and different willpowers will get them to a certain distance. Um, but yeah, eventually you'll break. You know what I mean? And even if it's not like at least for me, my opinion on it is, even if it's not a physical break, a mental or emotional event will happen where that will actually break you down, like some relationship thing, some family drama, something at work, like, and that will break you before your actual, and then you open those floodgates and it's game over.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a really good point because it can be really easy, especially you think about the New Year's resolutioners that are motivation is like basically at the highest it's going to be all year. And it's like, okay, 1,200 calories. Here we go. On paper, it's like, yeah, I just got to do some white knuckling. I just got to suck it up. It's going to be tough. I can do it. On paper, it's like, yeah, it's going to be a tough time, but I'm ready for it. I'm super motivated. But then when you find yourself in that situation where not only it wears down on you from like being really hungry and it's
mhm.
sapping your energy levels, but also it affecting your mood, that's when it becomes super eye-opening. It's like, "Oh, it's different than even how it looks on paper." It's way harder than how it looks
Yeah,
on paper because it also affects all these other things.
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, so I think he kind of very quickly went over the fast way of doing it. I would call it, I don't want to say negative way. Because he admits that he's done both, throughout his and I think that's a good point too, like, saying, "Hey, I've done this both ways, and through my experience and understanding, I've realized this other way is a better way of doing it." Um, but yeah, I loved some of the ways that he talked about. So what I wrote down here is he titled it "The Fastest Way While Still Looking and Feeling Good." I think that's an important aspect of it, right? So like, there's the fast way, getting there fast, and then there's the fastest way while still also feeling good, looking good, being proud of the work you're putting in, which I thought was an interesting way of. He's basically saying, "Hey, you're still going to get it quick, 3 months, month and a half, but one of them it's going to be sustainable. You're also going to feel good about it. But the other one's just going to be, we're white knuckling the whole way."
Yeah. And he made a point of saying too, like, let's say that you do make it with the first way, the faster, more uncomfortable way. Let's say you make it to the finish line with both. It's the second way where you take your time, the more sustainable approach where you'd actually much more likely look better. And the reason for
Mhm.
that being, not only are you going to like look more energetic, but you're going to have more muscle.
Yeah,
You're going to have a
yeah,
lot more muscle by the time you're a leaner body fat percentage, and that looks significantly more impressive than
yeah.
just losing weight.
Well, and I think that's the problem with crash diets as well in general. I mean, I think we've talked about this in the past. Like, a diet, at least at some point, means that. Well, I guess it depends on the definition of a diet, right? Like, diet is just what you're eating. But like, if you're dieting down, eventually that's got to stop. And then if you're doing this crash way, your body will um, respond in kind with how extreme you went down. It will respond in kind with how extreme it will change uh, going back up. And so that'll probably bring a lot of other emotional responses as well, I would imagine. Um,
There's a really well-known natural bodybuilding coach. His name is Cliff Wilson. Super, super successful. Many of his athletes end up just dominating competitions and winning pro cards, winning pro shows. But something that he said, I've heard him say multiple times in the context of prep dieting, which is similar in principle to dieting for people that aren't dieting for a prep, is that the more extreme the measures are that you're taking with the dieting, the more extreme the body is going to react. And extreme being like not good extreme. So for example, if you're in an extreme deficit with an extreme amount of cardio, then the body's going to react in an extreme way. And that, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of body fat, but you're also going to lose a lot of muscle, and it's going to affect your mood, and life's going to suck for a while. So I
yeah.
think that kind of goes along the lines of this whole thing.
Hmm.
You and I, we're both in our natural bodybuilding preps right now. We're taking this second approach. We're doing it the more sustainable, slow approach, so that when we get to the stage, we are going to be significant leaner with our hard-earned muscle to show by the time we get to the finish line. So
Yes.
we're actually doing this
Yep.
second approach of this. There's actually something that I thought was interesting. His math was a little bit strange to me. I didn't actually sit down and do any
Yeah, like
calculations,
dropping the
but
40 pounds and the 30 and all. Yeah, yeah.
well, that made sense. He's like, okay, so you start at the example he used is here's what would be an example of like a healthy, sustainable approach that would be ideal.
Mhm.
You take a 200-pound male, let's say he's 20% body fat. That means 40 pounds of his total body weight is body fat. If he wants to get down to 10%, that would mean he would need to drop, what was it, like 30 pounds, 20 pounds, something like that.
Yeah.
But then when you account for the amount of glycogen and water that is also lost, then he would probably need to lose closer to 25 to 30 pounds.
Mhm.
And I think that, I mean, that all
Makes
checks out to
sense.
me. But what didn't check out to me was like, well, what would probably work, and this is after all of the points that he shared, what would probably be ideal is like to take your time and do it in over like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I was actually like, I thought to myself, like, that's actually really fast. So
Yeah.
another point he mentioned is when you're trying to do this the sustainable way, the ideal way, to try to target between a half a pound or a half a percent to
Mhm.
1% of your body weight per week lost. Like that's kind of the Goldilocks zone where you feel at as good as you can and also
Yeah.
hold on to all of your muscle. You don't risk muscle loss. So that would mean that you'd have to lose for this 200-pound person, you'd have to lose at the top of that, which would be 1%, so 2 pounds per week, which
That's
would be
extreme.
what? Yeah, that would be 25 to 30
So
pounds, let's say 30 pounds, 2 pounds
mm,
per week, that'd be 15, what would that be, 15 weeks of 2
yep.
pounds per week? And that would be, I guess that would be 4 months, so I guess the math does
Yeah.
check out. I guess I'm just thinking for myself, that would be too
Well,
fast for I'm
I
slow.
that's a good point. I didn't think about that because my prep is 3.5 months. So I was like, "Oh, this is exactly like me. This is perfect." Um, Meanwhile, Sam was over here prepping for like 18 months or whatever it is. No, I'm just kidding. But
Close
so
enough.
maybe it's like relative because also he didn't say this for the fast way, but he alluded to people preach you can lose or get to 10% in 30 days. So maybe that was the metric he was kind of like
That's a good
planning
point.
off of. Um, and I don't know, because I definitely think what I'm going to be going through is extreme for normal people. But also, he is a bodybuilding coach. He's coached a lot of people. So maybe he's gearing it towards a little bit. Like if you're trying to get to 10%, like we talked about last episode, that's at the very bottom of what we think like I don't wanna say normal people, but
Could
the
be
that
sustainable,
optimal. Yeah.
could be
So
reasonably accomplished.
yeah, like now if he was going from a 30% to a 20%, maybe it's a little bit easier to get to that at that time frame. Because I mean, I lost 40 pounds in 5 months. Um, but it was not nearly the same as this. So, yeah, maybe it is a little bit fast because I was, like, even thinking, I was like, "Man, 2 pounds a week is gonna be that would be tough right now for me." But also, we're in his example, we're going from 20 to 10. I don't think either you or I are at 20, right? We're somewhere in between, so we're already starting, like, a little bit lower. Yeah, that's a good point, though. That is, I guess, maybe relative, right? People might think,
Could be relative, yeah.
yeah. I do think that is extreme for the mass people, but that's probably not extreme for bodybuilders. That's like a standard time frame. I don't know what the standard preps are. I think there's like I mean, you probably know better. It's probably a range from like 3 months to 12 months, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Different seasons. Um,
It would depend on, like you mentioned, it depends on context. How lean are you when you start? Like how far away are you from your estimated stage weight, and how fast can you tolerate fat loss? So like I'm thinking about myself. I'm like in month 6 of dieting. And part of that was maintenance, but even
yeah.
so, the maintenance was actually kinda tough, and I lost a pound throughout it, so it was like, it's like in like a quarter
You
pound
weren't really
deficit,
into maintenance,
basically,
you
like
know? Yeah.
quarter pound of fat. Would that be like a quarter of a percent loss per week or something like that? But
Yeah.
anyways, um, I feel like if I were to go faster than where I'm at right now, like, it would be I just would not prefer that.
But you're also, I think, way more disciplined than the average person. Like Like, the social events that could be temptations for other people, you're, like, locked in because 'cause you've been doing it, you know what I mean? I don't think the average person can go 12 months and miss their birthdays, like, the Christmas dinners, eat like, you know what I mean? They're gonna break eventually. Um,
Yeah. I think
so
what makes it possible, whether it's a bodybuilder or just like someone that wants to be at a healthy body fat percentage or the bottom of what's reasonably healthy, I
mhm,
suppose, reasonably attainable. I think it would boil down to what kind of approach you could make into a habit. So for me, like from the
mm,
outside, it looks like I'm being super disciplined. And I guess to some extent, it's
you
like
100% are disciplined.
to get down to, like, the nasty body fat percentages, like, it's uncomfortable, that takes discipline. But, like, just to say, like, at a relatively low body fat percentage that's, like, it's not unreasonably low, I think that having having a certain set of habits that don't actually need a ton of discipline can make the process a lot easier than what it looks
Yeah.
like on the outside. So for me, for a lot of people, they look in at me and they're like, "Wow, he's really disciplined." But I think, like, honestly, this is my preferred lifestyle. Like, a lot of this
Mhm.
is like habit for me, and I actually would prefer this than going out and eating all you can eat whatever, or, like, eating junk
Yeah,
and burgers and stuff. Like, I actually would rather eat my regular meals. So it's like
good point.
it looks super disciplined on the outside, and some of it is, but a lot of it's I think it's easier for me
Mm,
than what
mhm.
what other people might think.
Yeah, that's a
So
good way of looking at it. That's a good way of looking at it. Um, okay, let me get into some of these things because also
let's
I
do
need to
it.
ask a real question here. So this guy's name is Seth Capehart, right?
Yep.
And you're Sam Kaplan, so the same initials. So I'm wondering
Nope.
if
Nope.
I'm what?
Nope.
Wait, how's he
K is
spell
with
it?
Kaplan. His is with a C. Mine's with a K.
Oh shit! I was all amped up. Like, did you steal this from him? Did he take this from you? Like,
Who's
because
the
literally,
doppelganger?
right? Because literally,
Yeah.
this list of things is like I feel like everything you have told me, and I'm like so, which I thought was kind of really cool. It really resonated with me because I was like, oh man, Sam has been telling me these things. I'm slowly like I learned the hard way last year. This year I'm learning through this and all the wickets are being hit. So I love it. Okay, so the first one that I had listed out here that he talked about was setting calories the right way. Now this is
And
an
this
interesting
is
thing.
this is and just to clarify too, what you're talking about is these points that you're about to mention are when he's talking about the ideal approach to losing body fat.
Yes. Yes, this is the way you should do it out there for all you that are aspiring to get to 10%. Setting calories the right way. This is something I think I um would struggle with, and that's why I'm glad I have you to help me with these calories. And basically, what he meant by this is the highest number that you can eat while losing weight, not what's the lowest you can manage. Um, I think that is a great way to think about it because you always want to start hard. Like, okay, what can I take? Oh man, I can operate at 1,800 calories or something. But like to your point, like with me right now, it's like we're still losing at 2,200 or whatever. Like, like let's maintain that because we're still losing and we're still going to stay strong in the gym. We're going to stay like focused, like all these other great aspects that you're having when you're fueling your body. So I love that. I know you kind of look at that when we're talking about our calories and approaching that. So I think that's a huge thing that people probably overlook because they're always going to immediately be like, what can I go down to right away?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was exactly it. So what was it he said? He said you just said this. Most people or a lot of people have the mindset that they should have the least amount of calories that they can get away with, but what's actually ideal is to have the most calories you can get away with having while still losing weight.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's a much nicer thought at the end of the
Mhm.
day too. It makes it so much
It's like
easier.
glass half
And
full versus
also
half empty, you know?
yeah. And also too, it's like what can happen is and we see this in our natural bodybuilding preps is we'll lose for a while and then all of a sudden we'll hit a progress stall.
Mhm.
And there's reasons for why that happens, and we don't have to get into all the reasons why fat loss plateaus can happen. But let's say it does happen, it's like, well,
Mhm.
it's no big deal. We're still riding high calories. We've got options at that point. We
Yep.
because we're still eating high calories, it's not the end of the world if we have to drop a little bit again, which oftentimes we have to do. Or we just add in a little bit more activity or cardio, which he talks about. Maybe we can talk about that in a bit too.
Yep.
You'll probably bring that point up. But yeah, the
Yeah.
high eating as high of calories that we can get away with while still losing weight is a good ideal to aim for.
Yes. I love it. Okay, what was the second one? I'll let you get the second one.
Um, okay, so I got these down too, but I don't know if they're in the right order.
Okay.
We should be lifting weights as we're losing, and he also mentioned doing some cardio, which maybe we can talk about
Mhm.
to some extent, but he kind of breaks it up like if you're lifting weights, And the reason we want to lift weights is because that promotes muscle growth and muscle
Yep.
retention so that when we're dieting, we're going to be holding on to our hard earned muscle by the time we're as lean as we want to be, or maybe even build some muscle along the way, which is ideal for
Hmm.
how most people want to look. It's also great for our health at the end of the day, too. But he
Yeah.
suggests that we should be lifting weights like strength training. He mentions that he kind of threw out some arbitrary numbers like, yeah, like
6 to
focus
12.
on like yeah, big compound lifts, deadlift, squat, bench press, that kind of thing. And it's like, sure, okay.
Hmm.
And you can throw some isolation stuff in there too if you want.
Yep.
But yeah, um, and then focusing on sets of 6 to 12, kind of an arbitrary number. You could
Yep.
do less reps if you want, more reps if you want, but I think he's trying to make it really general for
Yeah.
people. But you can do more or less reps than that.
Yeah.
Um, and he mentions like, yeah, you can use cardio as a tool too, low intensity, steady state, moderate,
Yep.
or moderate cardio as well. But he kind of breaks it up. He mentions like use the cardio as a tool, and he
Yeah.
breaks it into a ratio like for every 4 hours that you lift, maybe do 1 hour across the week of cardio. So it's like a
Mhm.
almost like a secondary tool, whereas lifting would be more of a primary tool, I
Yeah.
think he's kind of suggesting.
Which,
What are some of your thoughts on that?
yeah, I love that because kind of in the first way we talked about, which was the really crash diet fast, like a lot of people do over cardio. And I think you see this a lot with people who just want to lose weight. They just do cardio, 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 cardio. And so by him giving the 4 to 1 ratio, I've never thought about it that way. And I was literally thinking, I'm like, okay, hold on. I'm doing like 30 minutes of cardio every day, but I'm not doing like 2 hours in the gym. So I guess my ratio is off. Oh no. Right. Like, but well, whatever. It was just interesting to kind of think about that. So I love that he mentioned it's a tool. It's not the way, it just is a tool. And kind of like we were talking about with the calories and this, it gives you wiggle room to amp it up, the cardio if needed. It also the food you can amp it down, right? So it's like this other thing, but that shouldn't be the main focus. I love how he talked about um elliptical. No, he said cycling and incline walking. And I love the incline walking. I will preach that all day long. Like the 3, 12, 30, 3 miles per hour, 12 incline, 30 minutes. Let's go. Everyone should be doing it. And well, yeah. So when he was talking about lifting, again, maybe this is again a little bit of a nuance. He's trying to make it well-rounded for everyone, but also he never really talked specifically about bodybuilding, right? So if we're just trying to talk about a normal person getting 10%, you like we've talked about in the past, you can get away with just the major compound lifts. And you can get to a lean state. Maybe you won't be at next level. So maybe that's why I didn't break that down into detail. But I liked the nuance that in the note I wrote was he made a comment, train like you're growing, not burning calories. And I like that. It's kind of the same thing about thinking of the glass half full, like thinking of the eating as much calories. So when you're training with this intensity, don't approach it as I'm trying to burn fat and using this as a cardio tool. Train this as I'm trying to make my muscles bigger, right? Like I think that's a good visualization for me. It's like the fat loss is going to take care of itself with the diet. Like this is the time to grow those muscles, right? So like let's build them, let's train them, let's work hard, intense. It's kind of the way I really liked approaching that.
Yeah, I like that too, and it's kind of the perfect counter to, or it reinforces that you can't out train a bad diet because a lot of people
Mhm.
do have that mindset of, I cheated on my diet, so I'm gonna burn it off with my strength training or do extra cardio, and
Yeah.
it's a vicious cycle. It doesn't really work because you burn less calories when we do cardio or lifting than we think. And
Yep.
oftentimes when we cheat, we eat far more calories than we think we're actually taking
Yes, for
in. But
sure. But so for you for cardio when we're amping it up, Sam, when are we gonna start running?
yeah, so actually I'm glad you brought that up because first I'll speak for myself and then we can speak on you a little bit. But for myself, when I'm in a fat loss phase, so I'm doing this big long extended prep,
Mhm.
I I'm not doing any formal cardio unless we're calling walking outside cardio, And
Mhm.
I've often not known if we should call that cardio or not. I don't call it cardio. I call it
Mhm.
walking, just
Steps, yeah.
inactivity.
Mhm.
It's not, I wouldn't even call it low steady state. Like low steady state, heart rate goes up to a certain
Yeah.
amount, which my heart rate does not get up to when I'm walking. Um, so I don't even consider it cardio myself. I have like step targets, which we've also prescribed for you.
Mhm.
You do go on at least one run per week as of right
Yep.
now, but similar to what I'm doing, we have like just a prescribed rep target for you.
Yeah.
As far as getting like that's a cool thing though. So like he mentions that cardio is this tool. If we're going to use it, then there could be a 4-to-1 ratio.
Mhm.
For me, I'm not gonna do cardio my whole prep, or at least the low end steady
Yeah.
state or hit or anything like that. I'm not gonna do it at all the whole time. Maybe my steps get a little
Mhm.
bit higher. Steps, walking activity, that's what I'm calling walking is activity, not really low
Yeah.
intensity state. So that's what I'll do is the tool that I would pull is just add more steps, and I don't even think I'm gonna add more steps, to be honest, to what I'm at. Just above 10K on average, 11 to 12 per day right now, and that's kind of
Yeah.
like within my lifestyle might be most feasible, and maybe it'll be food that
Yeah.
I'll taper from this point onwards.
Yeah. I
But
like
for
that.
you,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I like that nuance that you talked about with the cardio and the steps or just walking, because I tend to agree, like, walking is not cardio. Because like, when I hear cardio, I think there's gotta be some cardiovascular thing that happens. The heart rate's
I think
gotta
like
get
heart
up.
rate go to a certain
Yeah.
point.
So that's why, like, for me, like, dedicated cardio is legit the treadmill incline. And I almost feel like sometimes it'll take like 5 or 10 minutes before my watch will tell me that I'm in the moderate heart rate zone. And then I'm like, okay, good. I'm finally now working, right? Like that's the way I think about it because I'm just walking at that point. Like, this, what am I doing here? And that's kind of my mentality. I feel like I need to be training hard. For me, though, it's a good way to get those dedicated steps right away because I have a very sedentary like office job. My question though for you is also like when it starts getting cold, you're doing this prep through the winter. Are you still just walking outside, or do you ever do like treadmill time?
I have never done treadmill time up to this point outside of 5 to 8 minutes warming up before my lifting session. So
Interesting.
I get, like, I don't know how many steps I get from that, but I get a little chunk of steps from that. But
Mhm,
outside of that, I'm always outside. This is the first prep that I've done in the heart of winter. Usually, I would compete in the late summer and fall,
mhm,
which means usually I would kind of start my prep, like, when either beginning of or middle of winter, like January 1st ish, or like
mhm.
late winter when it's starting to warm up a little bit. But like if I were to like my last prep, I started like January 1st, my steps were pretty low. So I would just walk outside and get
Yeah.
like a 20 to 30 minute walk in, no big deal. I just put on lots of layers. My body fat percentage was pretty high, so I wasn't getting like cold from being lean.
Yeah,
So that wasn't a big deal. This prep, by the time it starts getting really cold and it's already getting cold, but by the time it gets really cold, I'll be, like, pretty lean at that point, and it'll be harder to be outside my steps,
yeah,
like, at least it'll be somewhere between an hour to 2 hours of intentional steps outside, which is not
yeah.
it's not that big of a deal, but
It's
when it's really
cold.
cold, yeah. So,
Yeah.
to answer your question, for this time or up to this point, it's always been outside of the 5 to 8 minutes on the treadmill.
Mhm.
But for this prep, I might get a walking pad. I keep telling myself I'm gonna get one, but I haven't done it yet.
Yep.
Otherwise, but my preference is to still do it outside and just layer up. The thing that I'm most concerned about, it's not the temperature because I would just layer. I would just like put
Yeah.
on more layers than you'd. I put on 5 layers and a scarf and like
So you are
two.
sweating a shit ton because you have so much
I would.
on.
I wouldn't even sweat. I would be so cold. I wouldn't even sweat. But I'm worried about the snow. So, like,
Mm,
just trudging my boots along in the snow, maybe
yeah.
that'll make it harder.
That's like
It'll
some
add a bit
extra
of
oh, yeah, you
resistance.
got some, like, the stair stepper out of there in the snow. You gotta get some snowshoes. I think if you
Exactly.
get the walking pad, you'll be converted, you'll love it. You won't be able to get away from it because 'cause you'll be watching, like, YouTube videos or listening or watching some movie or
Are
something while
you
you're doing it.
are you liking the walking pad?
Um, I am. I haven't used it a ton yet. My wife has been using it a little bit. Used it a couple times. She doesn't like it because it doesn't have a holder on it. So like I'm walking with my phone and watching something or the TV mounted, where she feels like she's gonna fall off if she's looking at something. I've only used it a couple times when I'm really in need for the steps at the end. Like right now, because it's warm enough, I'll just do a walk outside. Because it only goes to like 6 incline, so it's not really like eh. So for me, I would rather get the steps in on a dedicated treadmill. It also kind of breaks up my work day. I go during lunch. The only thing that sucks is if it is a nice day, I feel like I could just walk outside, but I just don't feel like I get like I'm getting the
You
same
don't
amount of
get that
steps.
incline.
Yeah, I love the cardio like that. I feel like it probably burns more calories faster
It's
too.
like
I mean,
pushing
it
you.
has to. Yeah, exactly. So kind of ties into probably why I like to run still. But but yeah. Love the cardio though. Cardio generally. The cool thing about steps though versus running is you when you walk, you actually take more steps per mile than when you're running. So if I'm gonna go walk a mile, my steps are more than my running a mile. Um,
Get like twice as many steps.
yeah,
I don't
which is
know.
kind
It's
of nice
amazing.
because I don't really think about it. I'm like, oh, because I like a lot of my steps that I've been planning for when I go outside is based off the last marathon prep where I've been running. So I'm like, oh, okay, I have this many steps. Like I think it was 10,000 steps would get me 6 miles or something. That's when I'm running. It's like it's different if I'm walking. You know what I mean? If I'm walking that.
One thing that I don't know, and I don't know if they have a concrete way of actually they would. There are ways where you can go and test in a lab how many calories you're burning by like getting you hooked up to a machine that's measuring like the heat coming from your breath in your
Mhm.
body to get an idea of your energy expenditure. But it would be interesting to know like 6,000 steps on a jog versus 6,000 steps of just
Mhm.
walking. So the
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pace that you take, your heart rate being different, the amount of energy it takes to do each of those
mhm.
steps. Like I wonder what the difference in calorie burn would be because I would imagine it
Yeah,
wouldn't be the same. I don't think
yeah.
all steps are equal, but
Mhm,
that's something I don't know the answer to. I'm not sure. The thing with one of the reasons why I like to include cardio as little as possible, so I won't do any for myself, is in the event that it might impact the lifting a little bit. So
mhm, mhm,
not to be like not to over sensationalize or fear monger this idea of like, oh, I'm doing cardio, so I'm going to burn away my muscle. I don't think we need to be afraid in that sense. But for me, I suspect like if I went for jogs, a couple days a week, or even just went really hard on the incline treadmill, or
mhm,
went, just pick your cardio method, then I would have to be really careful about when I'm doing certain lower body movements
mhm.
because the cardio would probably take away energy from my ability to like hit the same numbers with like leg press or Romanian
Yep.
deadlifts and whatnot. And if that impacts like any amount of muscle retention, then that just wouldn't be ideal for me.
Yeah.
I know people that do both and have like bigger muscles than me. So
Well,
I mean,
so
it's
basically
fine.
what you're saying when I did last Saturday when I went and ran 4 miles and then immediately did leg day after, probably not
It
optimal.
wasn't it wasn't
But
ideal,
this is
but
why I do men's physique. Okay.
that's
But
hilarious.
so speaking of that, it's funny because I have a 7 mile run tomorrow. And so I'm actually gonna fuel a little bit different before I'm gonna go to lift in the morning. I'm doing um chest and tries um tomorrow, and then I'll go run after that. So I'll actually eat a little bit either before the lift or in between just so I can fuel the run a little bit. But I think going to his next point, I think one of the important things if you're doing cardio, especially running, but any dedicated cardio, I think protein, 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 protein. So um, a lot of people that do cardio, they want to eat carbs to fuel the cardio, which makes sense, right? Your body wants to burn those things. But I think I think serious runners know to eat a high protein meal, but I think maybe people that aren't as tuned in with it, they neglect the protein afterwards, right? Everyone goes on a cardio session, a long run, a jog, they feel like let me go get some pancakes, let me earn this. They end up eating more calories than they burned. But to your point about retaining that muscle that you've worked on, like protein, and that's his big thing. Like one, and I think well, we actually go with the point 0.7, I think, right? Is the number we use.
0.73 minimum.
But, I think he just said 1 pound per goal body weight is kind of like, it's a very easy standard. And I think for most people, that's probably advisable because it's actually really hard to hit and people will probably underhit it if they try.
Yeah.
Shoot for the moon so you can land. So I think that is so key. Protein. I'm glad he talked about that. And specifically with our conversation about any kind of cardio, having a good protein meal after, I think is also smart.
Yeah. Yeah. He in addition to the protein. So there's a protein for all the reasons that you mentioned he recommended. So in particular when we're dieting, he kind of quickly brushed through saying like lean protein sources being ideal.
Mhm,
So lean meaning the protein isn't paired with lots of fat. So it's like lower calorie dense protein sources. So for example, a non-lean protein source would be like chicken thighs with all of the skin on it and lots of fat
mhm,
on it. Or 10% Greek yogurt versus 0% Greek yogurt, or 3% cottage cheese versus 0% cottage cheese, so on and so forth. So protein sources that are lower in calorie because they're not paired with as much fat. Not to
mhm.
say that the fat is bad for you. It's actually good for you in as long as it doesn't lead to excess calories being
Yeah.
consumed. So to make the dieting more manageable, shoot for at least a gram per pound, like what you mentioned that he mentioned, to make
Mhm,
sure that you're retaining all of your muscle, maybe even building a little bit more muscle and even helping with appetite regulation a bit. Aim for 1 gram per pound, and then ideally using predominantly lean protein sources. Like, you love to include, like, lots of shrimp.
yes.
Shrimp is a good example of a very lean protein source. It's basically pure protein. Maybe there's, like,
Oh, yeah.
trace
So
carbohydrates.
low calorie.
Yeah. Yeah, no fat on them whatsoever.
Yes,
So, like,
love it.
that kinda those kind of foods. And he also made a point of saying to try to make your meals more filling with also like higher low calorie dense high volume foods like lots of
Yep.
veggies for example, and they're they're they are also high in fiber, which is good in for
Mhm.
your health, and it's also fiber is something that keeps slows down the digestion process, so you're made to feel more full from eating a high volume of that food, and then you'll feel fuller for longer because the fiber is slowing down the digestive process. So that's and also
Yeah.
there's tons of micronutrients in them, which will help you stay healthier on top of retaining muscle and all the other cool stuff that happens when you're dieting.
Yes. No, I love it. I love how he talked about the managing the hunger. Because me and you have talked about this as something I'm working on better than last year. Um, those whole foods, stuff that's very satiating, vegetables, fruit has been clutch, right? Strawberries. I'm loving your recommendation on that. So that's awesome. Also, one of the things I love that he mentioned was like carbonated water or whatever these drinks are. So I love LaCroix. Shout out, sponsor us. 0 calorie, some kind of carbonation. Whenever I'm hungry, I just drink those and it fills me up as well. So I love how he talked about some ways to mitigate that. And some of those are simple. Like there's like the whole food thing, which I had a struggle with last year, right? Because I was like, I went to the default easy stuff. Now that I see the light, awesome. But like then I think there's like the easy wins of like, oh, just drink some sparkling waters, right? And like that's like a quick thing that is not like really a changing of a whole mindset. Like, oh yeah, I'll drink a couple of these things and they'll fill you up. I love how you mentioned no liquid calories. That's huge, so huge. Especially people that love their coffee and creamer and sugar and all those other things that they put in them. You know,
We're in the age of those like 500-600 calories ultra sweetened Starbucks coffees, fancy Starbucks coffees, that we're in that
yes,
era. People are, like,
yes,
addicted to those kind of things, or even just, like, sodas. I know we've
yep,
talked about this before, but it's crazy. A lot of people will initially accomplish a ton of fat loss from just going from drinking that kind of thing to having the zero
yeah.
calorie stuff,
Well, I just
water, those
watched
carbonated beverages.
another video. Maybe we'll have to talk about this one in the future. But Will Tennyson's video where he went to every fast food restaurant and ate the most unhealthy thing, And it was funny because at Starbucks, the most high calorie thing was like a mocha frappuccino, and it was like 600 calories. And I was like, I used to drink those. That's like a shake.
It's a whole
You know what I
meal.
mean? Yeah.
Whole meal.
Um, so his last point that he mentioned that I saw, and I think this is key, and I suck at this, it's super important. Recovery, right? He hit on recovery, real rest days, which I just had one of those on Sunday. I didn't train, I didn't even get my steps, and I ate my refeed day. So I think that was important how he really talked about recovery, talked about sleep. He said 7 to 9, non-negotiable. So
There you
I
go,
am
man.
I
Hey,
am
there it
missing
is.
the mark
That's a
on
source
that.
outside of me. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think you've said the same. Yeah, I'm happy when I get 6. So I think that's important. I think especially me and you have talked about this. We like to train. We like to go work out hard and stuff like that, but understanding understanding that in the evenings recovery is important, and then giving like an actual rest day, listening to your body, fueling your body to you know repair all the damage we've been doing throughout the week. So,
At the end of the day, too, the rest days, because you and I, we like to like get after it with training.
mhm.
But one thing that took me forever to figure out is that with proper recovery and just allowing time between sessions and even enough time between sets, like rest time
Yeah,
between sets, and also like getting good sleep and whatnot, is that actually allows for more hardcore training sessions.
yeah,
So like when you're there, when you're in the session, like you can really get after it. That's actually one of the biggest things that I've changed in the last couple of preps, like say over the last 5 years. When I prepped my third prep in 2021, that was the hardest, most brutal prep I ever did. I was training 7 days a week. I trained 7 days a week for my first three preps.
that's crazy.
7 days a week, full body, more volume than what I'm doing now for sure. Um, and the last two preps have been less volume and less volume, and they've been way more productive. Like I've
Mhm.
looked way better. I've held way more muscle by the time I got to the stage. I got leaner as well
Yeah,
from actually training less. Even this prep compared to my last one, my volume's down again since
yeah,
the last one. And um I mean only time will tell, but I think I'm looking much better at around 190 now than I ever have before at 190. So I think that this is it's working. And at least from what I'm feeling, I feel like I'm performing better in my training sessions because I'm actually taking more time to recover. And when I say time to recover, like again, 3 preps ago, training 7 days a week down to 4 days a week. Four.
I wouldn't know what to
It
do with all
felt
my time.
same. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Twiddling my thumbs around. But but it's like the key I found is like, hey, with those 4 days and the amount of volume that's in those 4 sessions, like, hey, well, it's game time. Like, I only got 4 sessions. I don't have seven. It means that with the amount of targets that I actually have access to, like, I better hit those targets.
Yeah,
It makes it fun. It's fun.
yeah. Well, it
But
kind of with less, you have to make that, and this is where I would struggle, right? Like, less you have to make it count. When you have more, you're kinda like, "Oh, I can make the yeah, I have workout tomorrow, I could do,
exactly.
like"
Yeah,
so,
exactly. It's like
yeah,
there's more pressure in a good
yeah.
way. It's like I got a couple sets here. I'm not doing this again in at least for 48
It's funny
hours, so I
because
better make it work.
you're having the less training sessions per week, so you have more pressure, but then you have less pressure because you have 18 months to prep. So, it's like
So it's like, well, maybe if I train 7 days a week, then I could do it in half the amount of time.
right, right,
Is that
yeah.
what you're
It's all
getting at?
relative.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That's why
yeah.
the 4 months is not unrealistic.
That's
It's only that because you're only training 4 days a week,
it's because I
Sam.
just decelerated the entire process. I made it
Yeah.
slower.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, I think I love those points that he talked about. Those are the ones he talked about, and, I love how he basically said, "The first way, the fast way is you will get lean. The second way, you will get and stay lean," which I think is an important thing. 'Cause I even think, like, um, after my last show, kind of I don't wanna call it a rebound, but enjoying life,
Mhm.
and then changing my goals to the marathon, I definitely put on some weight, but I felt like I was leaner than at that weight than I'd ever been before, right? So it's like because I'd already built some good habits and stuff like that. But yeah, I really loved the last part that he said. I can't remember exactly, but he basically said like after doing it the second way, that's sustainable. It's like you're going to like the way you look, but you're also going to like the guy looking back at you in the mirror. And I think that was really important because we've talked about this, just like bodybuilding specifically, but really just any fat loss journey or weight in general or getting lean, like the self-consciousness, the body dysmorphia, like all these things will mess with you. So I think like enjoying and the process and understanding that looking back at you and feeling proud of the work you put in, I think is really important. I like how he kind of added that last aspect into it, that kind of self-reflection
Yeah,
aspect of it.
yeah. I like that too. And he also said like it's like you can expect a double win. It's like you see the weight on the scale and you also
Mm.
see yourself in the mirror, to your point,
Yeah.
which he
Yeah.
elaborated on. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the tortoise and the hare. Right?
Yep.
That the hair, and I think that's the case too. Like with the more extreme approach, the faster crash dieting approach, I think most people that do that wouldn't even make it to the finish line. Or
Mhm.
they would and then they'll just rebound right
Yeah.
soon enough anyways, which is similar to the tortoise and the hare. The hare doesn't make it to the finish line. Tortoise passes it when the hare is taking a nap or doing its thing. It's
Yep. Yep.
similar concept anyways. So much of life is similar to that, but
Yes. Yeah. It's
it
funny how we
is.
haven't figured this out yet, in so many aspects. We want that instant gratification. Um, yeah, so I mean, Sam, any other kind of final thoughts? I thought you started really good. I think overall the video was awesome. I think everyone should check it out. I'm sure you'll link it and everything like that.
Yep.
Um, but
I don't
I will say, for all those that don't know, Sam also does coaching, and he preaches all these things before we watch this video. So it's like it's all coming together now. This prep, I know we talked about it off air. Like I'm finally learning and paying attention and figuring things out. And now look, this other guy is saying all the same stuff. So I just want to say kudos to you. Appreciate all the good information that you've given me. And now this is just confirmation of everything.
it's just secondary reinforcement, that's all.
Yeah, yeah, there we go, there we go.
Yeah. Well, no, I thought you summarized it pretty well. I don't have anything left to add. It was good. It was a great video. I think that anyone that is new to losing body fat or has never really successfully accomplished long-term fat loss, like they've lost the fat and kept it off, would benefit from watching it. It's only like 10 minutes long. You'll learn a ton. It's all true in my opinion, at least 99% true. So I'd watch it. But yeah, no, this has been great. If you have any, if share your experiences with fat loss. We'd love to hear from you. Share your experiences in the comment section below. Let us know what you thought of the video as well. Did you find that his points about crash dieting, you've found yourself in similar situations that you can attest to that being true? Have you found more success in taking a slower, more sustainable approach? Let us know in the comments. Also, if you like the video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Zach.
Thank you.